Hello everyone, welcome to the latest edition of La Fidanzata d'Italia podcast. Vinće here, and today we're diving into more transfer rumors from the world of Juventus. Stay tuned. Okay, first up in this segment, we are going to run down some transfer news. First up, we have Chico Conceição, who has officially become a Juventus player. And the suggested report is, or the official report is, the fee is for 32 million euros, and it's going to be paid in 4 installments. I think it's a smart price for Chico. I've said it before. He's young, talented, and in today's inflated market, it feels like some solid business, okay? And I like this move. I really do. Very young player. Lots of potential. Let's go to the next big news in the transfer world, and that is Mbangula, who has been sold to Werder Bremen for 10 million euros plus add-ons. And this is going to be in installments as well. I mean, talk about Juve getting pretty much screwed in the transfer window with selling players. I mean, can't be more evident than this. I mean, it was reported for so long that Chico's buyout clause was 30 million euro. And you were trying to negotiate a lower price. How they came up to a 32 million euro in price for this guy when the buyout clause was 30 million is just beyond me. I just it doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, going back to Mbangula, same thing, 10 million, and now you're gonna spread out the installments in what I think it was like 4 installments or 3, whatever it was. I mean, it's essentially like you're not getting anything every year. You're getting 2 million a year, 3 million. I mean. But again, Juve did put out the statement for this sale. They did say they make a net profit of 6.9 million euros from Mbangula's sale. So there's that. But, you know, I do wish that they just loaned him out for at least a year or two and then evaluated him and then made a decision after the fact, because I think this kid had some upside to him. I mean, we saw it this season, at least I did, with the, in my opinion, with the way he contributed and the big goals that he scored for us, you know. And I was sitting here reflecting and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know, compared to the other youngsters that we have sold, even last summer, one name does come to mind, and that's Matthias Soulé, who we sold to Roma for around 25 million euros. Soulé has not really contributed, or did not really contribute much when he was wearing the shirt. So, and he sold for 25 million euro. So I just don't understand how a player like Mbangula, who, again, young player, you can see there's potential there, there's talent. I don't understand how he can only sell for 10. I would expect him to be sold for around the same price, maybe a little bit more, given the contributions that he had this season. So that was a little striking to me. But again, we're just really poor with selling players. I mean, it's been pretty evident the past couple of years, or a few years. So it's just, it is what it is. So let's move on from Mbangula, and we are going to talk about another rumor that is, well, this is a rumor that's circulating, and this is Rasmus Højlund from Manchester United, the former Atalanta striker. Juventus are looking at him as an alternative to Kolo Muani, just in case PSG and Juve cannot negotiate to bring Kolo Muani back to Turin. Now, Kolo Muani has expressed his interest to stay, but PSG are reluctant to accept another loan, from what I'm reading and what reports are suggesting. But he has turned down moves from offers from the Premier League, because there have been Premier League clubs that have came to PSG and offered straight out fee for Kolo Muani. But he's made it clear that he wants to stay in Torino with Juventus. So we'll see what happens with this. I hope he does stay, because I've already expressed many times how I feel about Kolo Muani. I really do like him as a striker. He's still in his prime, you know, and I think he has a lot to offer us. Now, moving on from that rumor, we are going to go to some official news, and this is Alberto Costa, the young right back, Portuguese right back, who was in the headlines for the past week or two. You know, earlier in the week or last week, there was he dominated the headlines. Basically, it was reported that a move to Sporting was on the cards for around 15 to 20 million euros. Now, that deal had fallen through, thankfully, because Juve rejected the offer. And then it came out that Costa wanted to stay at Juve. He said he wanted to stay. Now, it was also reported that Tudor was against selling him after those rumors came out, which is good to hear because last week I was lighting up Igor Tudor based on those early reports suggesting that he gave the okay to sell him. But now, Fabrizio Romano, the official report, says that Juventus were offered a swap deal by Porto for Alberto Costa going to Porto and João Mário coming to Juventus. João Mário, if you all don't know, he's a right back, Portuguese right back. I believe he's around 25 years old. So he's not old. I mean, and I think we'll touch on this a little bit after this. But I just want to say that the move was going to be a swap deal, a straight swap deal, but Juventus is also going to get a €3 million fee. And, that has been made official. And it also has been made official that João Mário will sign a 5-year contract in Torino after his medical, which took place this morning. And so I'm pretty much very shortly, we could probably expect a post on social media with João Mário signing his contract with Comoli. So stay tuned for that on social media because, like I said, that'll be probably coming very shortly. But now let's touch on João Mário, okay? Because this is a right back who played for Porto. He's been getting a lot of stick. Juventus have been getting a lot of stick for this move now. I've seen on social media. People hate this move. They're just bashing João Mário. They're saying he's very bad, such a bad player. But I was watching some highlights, and I know they're highlights. It's not, but this guy is he's very quick. He's quick. He's a quick player. He's actually not too bad on the ball. I was watching, and there were some good crosses from these highlights that I saw him put in. I think in the Champions League this year, I want to say one of the highlights was against Inter, and he smoked Di Marco. So I mean that was promising. I'd love to see that. But I don't hate the move, but I don't love the move. So we'll see what happens. We had similar situations to this. I mean, I think it was like one name that came to mind, and I actually saw it when I was scrolling, going down rabbit hole on this. I actually saw somebody did kind of say the same thing, which was funny. But like it kind of goes back to like the Lichtsteiner deal when we signed Lichtsteiner from Lazio. Like how people weren't really like crazy about it, whatever. But Lichtsteiner turned out to be like this amazing right back for us for years. So I mean, you never know. I'm not comparing João Mário to Lichtsteiner yet, but I'm just saying there is potential. He's not over 30, so that's a big positive right there. We're definitely going to get a few years out of him, I think. We need a right back, and I'm not going to lie. While Alberto Costa has potential, and he was young and he had potential, I do think from watching him, even this preseason in the preseason tournament, or I guess the FIFA Club World Cup, we can't even call it a preseason tournament. Let's call it by its proper name. There were moments where there are moments where you see flashes from Alberto Costa, right? But there's also moments, especially in the Club World Cup recently against these big teams, where he didn't really offer too much defensively. He was getting. I remember one game in specific. I think it was against Manchester City. He was getting beat on that right side like time and time again. So I mean, but this has kind of been like the thing. Like he's not fully developed. So I mean, there is going to be these types of issues with Alberto Costa, because he's so young. But so to my point, I do think the João Mário move is going to be okay, because I think like worst case scenario, he's probably going to be similar to what Alberto Costa was offering us. I think, and I'm hopeful for that. I think so. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to Juventus. People are bashing him, and I think this is even like a greater story, and I think it's like even. It's going to be great for him. I hope he does. I hope he comes out this season. He just shuts the critics up and just like everybody's like, wow, like in amazement. Because this could turn out to be a really great deal that Juventus made. So we'll see what happens. Okay, let's move on to the next topic I want to touch on is Kolo Muani. I want to go back to that and the frustration with Kolo Muani, okay? So the reports suggest that he's very frustrated with the stalled talks between Juve and PSG. And, as I mentioned before, PSG are apparently refusing any loan deal. They're very reluctant to accept a loan deal, and they want a straight sale of anywhere around 50 million euros, okay? Which Juve, I think, simply can't afford right now, to be honest. Now, Colomboigny's agents are really trying to push PSG into another loan, according to some reports. So that's kind of promising. But if this deal collapses, then Juve was supposed to, the rumor was they were supposed to pursue Marcus Rashford prior, that was a name that came up because he was on the outs at Manchester United. But he's already signed with Barcelona, so that door is closed. And, I'm actually fine with that. Rashford's price tag was reportedly around like 40 to 45 million. I think they were evaluating him at when we were looking at him, or when the rumors came up. So, and considering his status at United, that he was just on the outs, I just can't justify that fee. I mean, it's just like Dusan Vlahović, who's clearly on the outs. His value keeps dropping. So how can you demand 40, 45 million for Rashford, who's on the outs, and you guys don't want him anymore? And then for Vlahović, on the flip side, for us, his value, we can't even get 25 million for him. And he's like a proper striker for the most part, even though he's performed pretty badly for us lately. But again, bottom line, we need a striker, okay? If Milik and Vlahović are blocking us from making a move, the management needs to fix it and fast, because that is those rumors have been popping up all over the place that they are blocking Juventus from making any more moves on the striker front. So they need to figure this out. Let's move on from that. Let's go to some other rumors and some other updates, okay? Now, this is a rumor that I really, really hope turns out to be true. This is a fresh rumor. I just saw it a few hours ago. There are reports that Milan want to offer Malik Thiaw in exchange for Dusan Vlahović. Listen, I would be 100% in favor of this move. Thiaw is 23 years old. He's a good young defender, and let's face it, we need center backs desperately. All right, it would be a smart move. It would be a strategic deal that gives us depth where we actually need it. And if this has any truth to it, I hope it materializes very quickly. Another player that has been rumored or linked with Juventus is Nahuel Molina from Atletico Madrid. And some of these reports are saying that Atletico are reportedly open to a loan move for this player, and Juve are interested, and I back this 100%. Is another move that I think 100% I back. I've always liked Molina. He's a quality wing back. He has a great work rate, and I think he could be key if we're aiming for a title push. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I really think he's a good wing back. I don't think he gets the proper recognition he deserves. And I think coming back to Italy would suit him. Another player that has been linked with Juventus, but this move has also fell through, is David Hancho. Okay, now the rumors for this guy, we need a center back, so he was one of the names that came up on Comoli's list according to reports, and he looks set to join Al Nassr from Saudi, if I'm pronouncing that club name correctly. But that move had collapsed, because it was close to being done. Fabrizio reported it, and then it collapsed last minute, and he has headed to Atletico Madrid. So again, another target out of reach for us, and I honestly haven't seen any other promising center back names. I just the only one I just saw was Malik Thiaw. I mean, that was linked with us. So I mean, I'd love to see, aside from Thiaw, I'd love to see Juve push for Leone and maybe even Camuzzo. Because Araujo's gone, and he was one of the big names that I think that could have really helped us at the back. He's a good presence. He's fast. He's a quick center back, physical. I think it would have been a good move, but his release clause went up, jumped up to the 1 billion euro mark, so he's out of reach. So yeah, now there's like no other center backs basically that I've seen us linked to that are taking catching any fire. So rumors are catching any fire. So I mean, if I had to pick, I think we need 2 center backs, and I would try to offload Dusan for Thiaw, and I would try to push for Leone. I do like Leone over Camuzzo. Now, let's move on from those center backs. Let's go to another rumor, and this is Jadon Sancho and some other attacking targets. But we're going to touch on Jadon Sancho first. These Sancho rumors are back, and it's reported that it's been reported for weeks now that this move is in the final stages. I am skeptical because he was a target last year for us, and it was so close, and it didn't happen, okay? So that said, I think he'd add quality, and I would love to see him pair with Kenan Yildiz. I really would. Or Conceição, whatever, if you swap that around. I really would like to see it. But I just don't I just don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, I'll believe this one when I see it, just because of how it's been the past year and everything, trying to get him. So, if not Sancho, though, I would like to see Juventus go after Mattia Zaccagni from Lazio. You know, he's a creative player. I think he's affordable, and he's someone who could unlock our stagnant build up in the final third, or stagnant or creativity. We have no creativity in the final third, and I think Zaccagni could be something to add to that. You know, I think he would pair nicely with Yildiz as well, and playing behind the striker in Tudor's formation. So, but I don't know. There hasn't been any rumors about this. I mean, last time I saw a rumor about Zaccagni, I think it wasn't in this transfer window. It was in the last transfer window, I think. I don't know if it was January or last summer, but when Juve were linked to him. But I wouldn't mind seeing that. Zaccagni is closer to 30, I think. So, I mean, it would be probably for a couple years. I mean, but it would help. I think it would be a step in the right direction if we couldn't get Sancho, and I think the salary would be a little bit more affordable than Sancho's $6 million that he wants a year. So, all right. Now, there were also on the striker front, there were Dybala rumors earlier in the window too, you know, and those have just died out. And honestly, I'd love to bring him back. I mean, it's not going to happen, but I would love for Juve, for this to have been true, and Juve to have brought him back, because even if we only get 20 games out of Dybala because of his injury problems, I mean, that'd be huge. I mean, that's 20 games where you're probably going to win almost all of them, because Dybala's numbers when he does play are they speak for themselves. And, you know, his exit was very heartbreaking. You know, he gave everything for Juve, and I think he deserves to come back and retire here. You know, this is the team of his heart, you know. So, I mean, but it is what it is. He's reunited with Gasperini. If you guys didn't know, Gasperini and Dybala were together back in the Palermo days. So, I mean, I think this is something that Dybala is probably going to want to explore and probably excited about. So, I don't see this happening. But, again, you can dream, right? All right, let's move on. Let's go touch on Dusan Vlahović again and some forward movement with this. So, Fenerbahce, or Fenerbahce, however you want to pronounce that club name too, they are reportedly back in for Dusan Vlahović, but there's nothing concrete. I mean, there's been a bunch of rumors about Dusan Vlahović, you know, but it's just back and forth. I mean, there's rumors that he's in negotiation, then there's rumors that he's going to see out his contract, then there's rumors that we're going to terminate his contract with a severance package. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe with this one either. I just want this saga to be over. It's almost like the Gyökeres saga with Arsenal. I mean, this is just, I just need it to be over. And, you know, there were whispers about Milan being in talks, so we'll see how it unfolds. I mean, lately, just as of late with the Malik Thiaw swap, but I mean, Milan has been keen on this move for the entire window, I think. Now, let's touch on Nico Gonzalez, okay? So reports suggest, or have suggested, that there are Saudi clubs that were interested in Nico Gonzalez, but Inter and Atalanta are also interested in Nico. And this is because Lookman is very close to joining Inter. He wanted Inter, and the fee was around 45 million euros. You know, Atalanta's pushing for 50, you know, something like that I was reading. But we apparently value Nico at 20 to 25 million euros. So I say, if Inter or Atalanta were coming after, I think we have to highball them on this price, especially after how Atalanta handled Koopmeiners with us. We should get the full value, at least, you know? So, I mean, I would skyrocket that offer. Go to 35 million for Nico. You want Nico? 35 million, you know, since they screwed us with Koopmeiners. All right. Next player I want to touch on, and I want to touch on a few more departures as well, is Douglas Luiz, okay? Douglas Luiz, the past all transfer window, actually, he's shown interest from West Ham and Everton. But, you know, Juve won't take less than 40 million euro if reports are to be correct. You know, Everton apparently had offered Juve something around 30 million euros with the potential 10 million euro loan being the initial cost and then the obligation structure. So this could be one to watch. But, you know, I will say today, the squad returned to Continassa for preseason training, you know, and there's already drama. And one key player who was reportedly absent from the camp today was Douglas Luiz. And this is no excuse. There was no communication, apparently. He just didn't show. And, you know, he's expected to face disciplinary action. And honestly, I think this probably seals it. He's out this summer. I mean, it's an absolute waste, if you ask me. I mean, I was excited about him. But if you can't show up to camp on day one and there's no room, there's just no room for that in this club, especially not now. And especially if you are already on the outs with Tudor, this is not going to help you. All right. Now, moving on from Douglas Luiz, I want to talk about another rumor, which is a pretty crazy rumor, and that is Miretti, Fabio Miretti to Napoli. These rumors have ignited in the past few days, and it is pretty crazy. It's right after the rumors started, right after they recirculated and kind of were getting strong again, right after the Porto swap deal with Alberto Costa and or the Sporting swap deal. Sorry, I said Porto. Between the João Mário and Alberto Costa swap deal. And the reports broke that Miretti was very close to joining Napoli for a fee of around like 10 million euro, 15 million euro, you know. And if this happens, this would infuriate me. I mean, we should never sell to Napoli, especially not for that price. They gouge us every time. And if this goes through, it will be the most infuriating move of the window. I mean, all Napoli does is highball the prices for players that we're interested in. They don't want to sell to us, but yet we're going to sell a young talent for 10 million euros, 15 million euros. I mean, this management has to really think about this and just think about the business deals with Napoli and how poor they are with negotiating with us, how they just are just one-sided. You know, De Laurentiis is one-sided. He just highballs us, even for Victor Osimhen. Interested in Victor Osimhen, his buyout or whatever, they want 75 million. For Juve, they want 95 million. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the Premier League, I have to say, this is what bothers me too. And I get it on both sides of it, but like, seriously, you want to try to retain the talent in the league, okay? And this is what really, really bothers me. The Premier League, if you see all the rumors, a lot of those players are moving within the Premier League. So they're keeping talent in the Premier League for the most part. A lot of big players for the most part. But when it comes to Italy, and it comes to Napoli, for example, or anybody, they want to sell abroad. Atalanta, they want to sell abroad rather than to sell to one of the teams in Italy. So we're losing all of our talent abroad, all because they want to be stubborn or whatever, because you don't want your talent, you don't want to just make one team stronger in Italy. Well, then sell to that team and go raid another team abroad for their talent. I mean, it's just logic to me, common sense. Instead, you're just ruining our league. That's what it comes down to. The league is getting ruined. Look at Osimhen. You were so reluctant to sell to Juve that you just pushed a move to Saudi or Galatasaray. And now he's at Galatasaray for the 70 million, whatever it was, 75, whatever. And you have an anti-Italy deal in that for the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It really is. It just, whatever. People, their fans are going to say, oh, it's smart business. You know, ideals, but whatever. It's not really smart business because it's not smart business for the league. Yeah, maybe for your team if you want to be selfish, but it's not smart business for the league. And that to me is infuriating because as a whole, I've been watching Serie A since I was very, very young, and I love this league. And it's just so sad to see that this is what it's come down to. We used to have all the best players in the world. You know, you used to have the rivalries, and you know, you used to have like players like Roberto Baggio shifting from top team to top team. You used to have, you know, Ronaldo, same thing. Like it was just, and now you don't. Now you have one top player playing for one team like Napoli, Atalanta, Inter, whatever, and then Juve, and they want to sell abroad. They don't want to sell. But I mean, we're gonna just again, this is just, I can keep going on and on about this, but I'm just gonna stop here. All I will say is if Fabio Miretti goes to Napoli, I'm gonna be really, really mad. Now, I already touched earlier in the podcast, but it was official in Bangula went to Werder Bremen, you know, and I told you about the profit that was around 6.9 million. I was against this move. This is another move, but this just goes to the point that I was just talking about. I mean, Juve is so poor on the selling market. You know, I would have at least tried to add like a 20% resale clause in this for Mbangula, which I don't see because in the official statement from the Juventus board on their website, it didn't say anything about an additional resale clause. All it said was the net profit about 6.9 million, and you know, the fee of 10 plus the 2 add-ons like dispersed over a few different number of years. So I mean, it just doesn't make sense. You got all the other team, like look at what Real Madrid does. Like, I mean, the young players that they either move on or put on loans, it's just, they have either a resale clause or they have a buyback clause. So I mean, like, why can't we work like that? I mean, what is wrong with this management that they can't see it or can't negotiate that? That's my issue, and that's like the worrying thing to me. So this needs to get resolved. Let's move on from that. Let's talk about Tim Weah, next player. Okay, I'll stop with this. I'll stop with my rants. But Tim Weah, another player likely to leave. The club that is interested in him is Marseille, and in France, and it is the reports are suggesting that Tim Weah wants to move to Marseille, and I think this is because he just felt so disrespected after Juve kind of offered him in Bangula to one of the Premier League clubs. I forget if it was Forest or something. I don't know. But anyway, these talks are ongoing, and I think it's going to be for a fee of around 15 million euros. But I wouldn't be shocked if we botch that and it just accept a 10 million euro offer, like with installments, because again, our selling has been atrocious. But so we'll see what happens with that. But on a positive note, I will say we did get some news yesterday, I believe it was, that Federico Gatti has extended his contract. So Gatti reportedly signed a new contract until 2030 with an option to make it an additional year to 2031. And his salary is going to be 2.5 million euros, around there roughly. So I think that's a great move. He's Italian international. We're desperate for quality at center back. So, I mean, he's one of our better center backs. So I think that's good. And before we move on, I just have to say, this is one that got away. I really wish we had shown interest in Francesco Camarda before he went on loan to Lecce. I was putting these things out into social media, into the world. I was trying to hashtag it, whatever. I was trying to make it pick up, I was trying to make it pick up steam, but it just wasn't working. I mean, this kid the other day debuted for Lecce and he scored a hat trick. I mean, wow. What a start to this journey. I genuinely think this kid is going to shine this year in Serie A. And we could have moved for him earlier and maybe given him a path at Juve. Another talent, though, slipping through. Would have Milan have sold him? I don't know. But, I mean, he's a young player who never played. I think if you came around with a 25 million euro offer for this kid, I think it would have been hard to refuse. Or even if you had like a 25 million, whatever it is, and then you add a sell-on clause that Milan would get, I think it would have been hard for him to refuse. But again, another talent slipping through the cracks. Now I have to end this episode on a note about the GOAT, my GOAT, Alessandro Del Piero. Okay, there have been some social media posts that came out about Fabio Cannavaro, who recently shared this on his story and whatever. But basically, Cannavaro was quoted saying, he was talking about the World Cup, and he said, "After we won the World Cup, most of the stars left Juventus because of the relegation. Del Piero was holding the trophy, staring at it for a long time. He said to me, 'I'm staying, Fabio.' I said, 'What?' And he replied, 'I won't leave my Juve.' A few days later, Cannavaro called him and said, 'Hey Alex, I'm sorry I left.' And Del Piero said, 'No need to be sorry. You left during the hardest time. But I'm the captain. I can't leave.' Cannavaro said after Del Piero's words, quote, 'I felt ashamed,' end quote. I mean, just gave me goosebumps reading that whole thing. This story says it all. Pure class, loyalty, legend. That's the kind of player Juventus was built on. Del Piero stayed when others didn't. And that's why he'll always be an immortal in the history of this club. Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of La Fidanzata d'Italia podcast. As always, thanks for tuning in and spending some time with me, Vinće, as we dive into the wild world of Juventus. The transfer window is heating up, and you already know we'll be back with some more updates, reactions, and honest takes as soon as the next big story drops. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast, share it with your fellow Juventini, and hit me up on social media if you want. Let me know what you think of the moves we made and the ones still on the table. Until next time, Forza Juve sempre fino alla fine. Ci sentiamo presto.